Welcome to Profiles and Drive. Today I got Arnel in the studio. Some of you may know him as the president of Culture Shock of the world, founder of Kaba Modern. You know I'm talking. Arnel, let the people know who you are.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you, Emroy. I'm the international. Oh shoot, I messed up. I'm the board president of Culture Shock International and Culture Shock LA, and I'm also the founder of Kaba Modern and Kaba Modern Legacy. And I also am part of Kinjas, and I've worked with the Beat Freaks and Fanny Pack.
So tell me, it's a lot of people don't know, I guess, how the whole LA dance community started. As from my understanding, there was you and then a couple other people from Pack that started. Like, tell me how the dance scene was earlier.
Well, I mean, obviously, like all the different art forms, they already were popping up in the late 60s and really thriving in the 70s and 80s. So a lot of us like grew up around that and were inspired and influenced by that. And then when the whole new school, evolution came out, with Mop Tops and Elite Force, paving the way for everyone. That whole wave, influenced us as well. So by the time I got to college at UCI, we were doing the Filipino cultural dances for PCN. And at that time, a part of my Filipino-American experience was actually hip-hop, and doing all of the different urban dance styles. So I approached the president to see if, we could add that to the PCN. And it was funny because he thought I was just joking. He didn't take me seriously, but, before you knew it, I put the audition flyers out. I took him seriously. He thought he took me in jest. And it kind of happened by accident. And so we had the Kaba Modern Dance Suite at the PCN. And, I think it was kind of a new thing. I mean, some schools were doing it already, but it was never like an actual crew or an actual like specific group that rehearsed for that and put all their concentration on that one section. So we were like a small dance family. There's in the beginning there were only 14 of us.
Wow.
And that was 1992. So PCN of 1992, UCI, Kaba Bayan. So I think that opened up a lot of eyes. And before you knew it, different clubs on campus were trying it, adding it to their culture nights. UCLA had already done it as a big dance suite as well, but they were starting to tinker around with it. Shortly, a couple years later, there was Pack Modern, which was created at with Pack at Cal State Long Beach, and even a year or two before that was a group called Culture. Danny Batamana headed that up.
Oh wow!
Based in Fullerton. So in the beginning, it was mainly the three dance crews. It was Kaba Modern, Pack Modern, and Culture, which later became Team Millennia. So we didn't have any dance competitions at that time. So promoters kind of got onto the fact that we were creating ticket sales for the culture nights. So they started bringing us creating competitions at car shows.
Oh wow!
So that's where we would compete. Mainly the first three. The first three teams, and eventually my roommate actually was talking about his doing fundraisers for his fraternity, like charity fundraisers, and so he said, "You guys need a place to dance." So he created Vibe.
Oh wow!
And then after Vibe, then in San Diego, Anna created Body Rock, which became Buster Groove, which became Body Rock. So it started there, and I think once there was a place for these dance crews to kind of be showcased, then the more dance crews in different communities started popping up, because then Formality was created, and Barcada Modern was popping up, CADC, they were popping up everywhere. It wasn't like culture night focused anymore. They were being birthed from just communities of dancers that wanted to be a dance family and be together. So it started as like college based, and it became community based, and now we have so many dance crews, and it's grown so much.
Yeah,
so.
that's pretty crazy, because that's exactly my whole mission when I first started FanBiz, was because I was in college, but I didn't want to drive far to Long Beach. I didn't want to drive far to Irvine. I'm like, I'm broke. I don't have that much gas money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like me and a couple of friends, we
Uh-huh.
started our own thing, and so we can have all the dancers in our community just start dancing, and just blew up from there.
Yeah, I think it starts from that initial intent of, wanting to do something with people that you want to be surrounded by,
Yeah.
and then you create like what makes you different, and that becomes your dance family.
Oh yeah, that's
you
what
know?
we start developing our own like family identity or something like that.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
how did you get into the whole dancing to begin with?
Well, I always grew up. My parents, always had me involved with my cousins in Filipino cultural dancing.
Okay.
So I was already like used to being a part of a team or a part of a dance troupe. So I had that instilled in me at a young age.
Okay.
But I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So that was when, lock-in and pop-in and break-in was really, really blowing up. And I saw it in its raw forms. I saw it on the streets, in the parks, rolled out linoleum and
Oh, man.
cardboard. Anywhere anyone could get together, I would see it. And all my cousins were doing it. My cousins were poppers.
Oh wow.
So I always looked up to them. But I was an awkward kid. I was very shy. And I was more on the outside of the ciphers looking in.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I would take buses to go to jams. I would go see it at all the parties, see it at the park and the playground. But I would never really have the courage to jump in those circles.
That feels.
So, you know what I mean? So I would just practice at home, I'd practice in my room, I'd close the doors, in my garage, anywhere just by myself. It would be a chance to just be free and be inspired by, what I saw and kind of play with that.
Mhm.
But I never really did anything with it publicly, not even at dances. I didn't have the courage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, what was the whole thing? Was that just thinking that you weren't good enough, or?
Yeah, I was pretty awkward, and I was teased a little bit by my cousins and stuff. So, so I never felt like good enough, really. But I loved it,
Mhm.
So it was more of a personal thing just for myself. And I would be an avid fan. I would be out there watching anywhere I could see it. I would be at. I would even think what's going on Soul Train, and what's going on TV, when the movies, Breaking One
Oh.
and Electric Boogaloo and Beat Street and
I love Beat Street.
Crush Groove and all of that came out. I was watching that. But I loved going to the jams too and just seeing like the actual rawness of the ciphers and the battles. I mean, I thought that was like a whole different element than just seeing choreography on TV.
Yeah.
So I was influenced by both growing up, but never did I ever think I would be a dancer myself. Until probably junior high, like in the dark in the corner, I would like kind of experiment a little bit. And in high school, I got
in the dark. Is like when you say in the dark, or in like in the dance, and you're in the corner, you're just doing your own thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
do your own thing. And then like some of my black friends, that I grew up with were like, you can dance, come over here. And so, we had our own version of kind of a Soul Train line. It was 80s, 90s, new school dancing, but, it was party dancing.
Yeah.
So I was living in that, and then in high school was finally where I got together a crew and I started experimenting. But even then, I did not feel cool enough to be in the front. So I would do choreography, but I would like want to be more in the back.
So you'd start something, like you'd have like you're more like the initiator. You started something, and create the choreography, but you always wanted to like sort of you wanted sort of someone else to be in front.
Yeah, I didn't have like the self-esteem, I think, or I didn't feel like I had the charisma to be a leader at that point. And
Even though you started something, choreographed something.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. That's why, I identify with people who feel awkward or who feel less than, because I feel like the difference between someone feeling that way and feeling validated is just one person's effort to give someone confidence or to believe in them. And once you have that, things can be created. So what happened with me is in high school, I loved being a part of a crew. So when I got to college, like I said, I was at the Filipino club, Kaba Modern, and it was like already January, and we were finalizing the suites for PCN. I went up to the president, and that's when I asked him if we could have a hip-hop section, because I felt that represented being Filipino-American as part of my experience. But I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have had the guts to ask if it weren't for people like friends believing in me, telling me you can dance, you should do it. And whereas in my upbringing, people were kind of making fun of me, or I felt teased and awkward. Now I'm a freshman in college, and I have all these kuyas and ates that are like telling me that they believe in me, and that just transformed me as a person. I feel like if I didn't get that positive energy or people giving me that nudge to believe in myself, I probably would have stayed in the background. I probably would have never created Kaba Modern.
Wow.
But because they did, I had the courage to create it. And even though seemingly it was created by accident, I think it was definitely fate.
Yeah, that was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen. And, I was nervous, too. I was a freshman at UCI, I had glasses and a mustache. I look way different. And I was just still transitioning from being that awkward kid that felt less than to becoming a leader. And everyone was older than me because the people that auditioned for Kaba Modern were like the best dancers at UCI, and they were juniors and seniors. And I felt intimidated, but you grow into it when you care about it and you have positive people behind you, and you can really let that out of you, that inner person that really wants to express, that wants to share, that wants to create, So I'm really a big believer in that pay it forward mentality, because you never know what ripples you're going to create.
That's true. I think that's crazy, because I just heard you say you some of the most talented dancers came to audition, and it comes to show that you don't have to be the most talented to create something. You just have to be brave enough to just do it.
Yeah, I think you have to have the right intent and the right heart and the commitment. And you can do it,
I mean, Kaba's gone a long way since the dance community in general has gone a long way. I mean, while you were going through your whole dance, because I know didn't you dance in the movie Debut too?
Yes.
I remember that
yes,
too.
yes.
In your experience in your dance career, what were like some of the struggles you may have faced? Like any sort of, because I remember a story a while back. You mentioned that you were casted for a different type of ethnicity because of your color, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, starting with the debut, that was a fun opportunity, because that was the height of Kaba Modern, where we were very visible in the dance community, at least, and we were winning a lot of different competitions. So that was fun. We were approached by Jean Kahayan to be a part of the movie, and so they cast 3 guys from Kaba Modern, and then they asked the girls, 3 of our girls, to choreograph.
Wow.
The girls, because Premier, the singing group Premier, were the leads for that section. So that was really fun, and that was part of our movement of diversifying the face of hip hop, because that is one of the challenges. The challenge is that although we were, really hip hop is for everybody. It was created by the community for the community. But it wasn't very diverse in pop culture or media.
That's true, yeah.
So people would be surprised when I could dance, and I think that's interesting. At the time, people would be surprised that an Asian can dance. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But that's changed so much, because I think of things like the debut and even all the different dance shows, like So You Think You Can Dance and all of that, and just everyone doing their part to really diversify and show that it's really anyone, anyone, it's for everyone. But that was a challenge when I was in the industry, because once I joined Culture Shock, and I was also part of a crew called DVS and Chill Factor.
Oh, Chill Factor! Wow.
And Culture, and then of course Culture Shock LA I had auditioned for and started dancing with. That's how I got my agent. And back at the time, one of the best agents was DDO and BBA. I signed with Bobby Ball agency. Wow. This is way back in the day, and the industry was different back then. It was smaller, everyone knew each other, but it was challenging. I would never get cast for a Filipino role or Asian role. I usually would book Hispanic or other. Or, yeah, or even like Indian. I got Indian before. I remember just being really excited because I booked this Pepsi commercial, and I was really excited because it was around the Super Bowl time.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that I had booked it for I thought I had booked it for the Super Bowl, but it turned out it was for South America.
Oh.
So that was one of the things too. I mean, it was a good thing in the sense that um, I was booking things, but it was interesting that I wasn't getting booked for any kind of. They weren't interested in Asian Americans at the time.
And
So.
what was the whole? How long were you in the industry? Like, were you acting?
Not that long. I mean, I tried it probably, I would say maybe it was in the late 90s, so probably late 1998 to 1997 to 1999. Only a couple years. I realized it wasn't for me. The great thing was that, like, I saw every audition as an opportunity to train and take class for free from these amazing, choreographers
Good
that
mentality.
I probably wouldn't have access to. So I kind of had maybe a naive view on it. So I just was like appreciated every single audition and every class. But what I didn't appreciate is seeing people change, and
Like their egos.
yeah, egos, and people that I'm close to, not being happy for other people and that competitive spirit. You have to have thick skin, to survive in the industry. There are some great people that I've known then, I know now, and are just still working and are amazing. But there's also the cattiness, competitiveness, and the breakdown. That
Tell me
happens.
about that, man. Like, what? It's because I think it's like a common thing we see in TV shows that once people get breakthrough in terms of making it, there's this sort of I guess not so much. I guess their ego starts getting bigger. What do you think starts causing that, or what do you think?
I actually think a lot of that ego is rooted actually in insecurity, because their foundation for their identity becomes more about who they are on camera, or and what they book and who they surround themselves by, rather than being very secure in who they are as a person, and that's not for everyone. But I think a lot of the people who end up being negative or cliquey or who get in the habit of putting other people down, I think a lot of that is that behavior in general, even outside the industry, is just usually rooted in insecurity. So when you're younger, you take a lot of things personally, So when I was auditioning, my feelings would be hurt,
Yeah.
But now I know, now being around it, and so you never take it personally anymore. You realize that they're in that part of their journey. You hope they'll grow out of it and be surrounded by good people and find a better path for themselves or a better balance. But it's not you personally. It's when people are being negative, it's a reflection of something else that's going on in their own life.
100% true. I remember reading that in Four Agreements. I love that book.
Yeah.
What did you do after? What was the next
Well,
step?
I was in Culture Shock LA, and then I was exploring other fields as well. So I was pre-med. So
yeah, that's right.
I went on a medical mission and did some surgeries, delivered some babies in the Philippines.
Holy jeez.
We visited 5 very poverty-stricken provinces. So that kind of opened my eyes. I actually thought I was going to be, a pediatrician or
Oh, wow.
a physician of some sort, but I realized I really liked being in the waiting room during recovery and passing out and checking on how they're doing after the
Oh, wow.
procedure. So I ended up realizing that I was meant more towards like a therapeutic kind of field. And so I came back looking into psychology and physical therapy, and I ended up being into occupational therapy. And so what I did after the whole industry, actually during kind of overlapping, was I was applying to master's programs for occupational therapy.
Oh, wow.
So I did that. I did my master's and my doctorates in occupational therapy.
Dang, doctor.
And but my balance for that was
Dr. President.
Yes, I mean that's another half of me that that's my balance, is my work as an occupational therapist is balanced by being an artist where I can be creative. So that was an interesting thing. It's you're kind of brought, or at least I was brought up to with that strong mentality. You will be a doctor, a lawyer, or an
That's what my
engineer.
mom thought I was gonna be.
You know what I mean? They're just because they want a better life for you than they had. So my parents were really all about, you can do whatever you want for fun, but for a career, you must be a doctor or or a lawyer, something very,
Did you
successful in their mind.
did you have that sort of conversation? Like, what did your parents think when you were doing the whole industry thing?
They said that I can do it for fun. You know what I mean? They supported. They liked it. They liked the fact that I danced. They went to like all my PCNs,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
they saw that I love it. But they never. If I were to do that as a career solely, they would be concerned for sure. But I actually never really, in my mind, thought I would be doing that solely. I think I knew, around because of my college experiences, like I knew that dance was going to be a part of my life, and something else was going to be a part of my life too.
Okay.
And so that was kind of a big realization when I was in my master's program. I was feeling conflicted because of what people tell you about you have to choose a path. But what I realized later is you create your own path that's right for yourself. So it's not about being a doctor or an artist. If being a doctor and an artist is what makes you who you are, then you can do both. As long as you invest quality and commitment in both.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell people all the time. Find your right fit. What truly makes you happy? Because when it comes to work, most of your wake hours is spent on work. So you should really commit to your best life by doing a job that you really love.
Yeah.
Because that'll show. It impacts your health. It impacts your relationships. It's the best thing you can do for your life by really being authentic and real with your career path. Picking something you really, really love.
Yeah. It can be difficult for some because there's a lot of people are imposed this idea, the just general life plan that this is how it's supposed to go to school, go to college, and you're supposed to do this, this, and this, and then you're finally there, like, I'm not happy, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I mean, every time I see you, you're always smiling. You came here like 20 minutes late. I found it. How do you maintain like a positive outlook on the times of your, I guess, challenges?
I think it's definitely like surrounding yourself with good people, because we all have our weak moments, and definitely your love and your foundation has to start within yourself first. But to kind of help you remember that and stay on your path, you need to make really good choices with the people you surround yourself by. So I think another thing too, like I said, is really picking a career that you really love, because it shows. I feel like I know people who right out of college just went into what they thought they were supposed to, but they have health problems. They're aging quicker. And that stems from not being truly happy with what you're doing. So I think those things, really making really good choices about how you're gonna like cultivate your life. What you're gonna work, what job you're gonna work, or what career path you're gonna go by. The people you surround yourself with, the activities you choose to kind of promote, physical and emotional, health, because even you choose your career, but there are also things that you need to do just for yourself too.
Yeah, a lot of self-love is important.
So.
What do you call it? I know for me, I can become such a workaholic that I forget to like take care of myself. Like just do simple things that I like playing basketball. I hate it. I hate that like I'm not the best player, but I just do it because it's therapeutic. I'm like, I don't hate basketball. It's one of my it's one of my therapeutic things, because it doesn't involve me having to. It doesn't involve me. It's because I'm new to it. I suck at it. And I'm like, this is a challenge, and I get to take it on. And tell me about the whole culture. Allison shared her point of view, and the whole struggles. Like, what was it like for you? Because you took it on, brought on a whole evolution, and with your vision of hip hop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And then what's your take on that? Like, what's your history?
Well, I think we all evolve. As we evolve as people, I feel like our mission in life evolves. And so in the beginning, what I loved about dance is the fact that it brought people together and it was fun, and also you get to like showcase your material and entertain people. I think that was the beginning of what dance meant to me. Later, as I grew as a person, I realized like the power of what dance can do for the world. What it can do for your community. And I learned that through the mission statement and ideal of Culture Shock. I auditioned at the time. When I auditioned, we were sponsored by Nike, and we did do a lot of like community outreach events. I joined because I wanted to be now in a diverse group, with different kinds of people, different styles of dance. Um, and the mission statement, which is we are a troupe of individuals who, through the power of music and dance, cultivate self-worth, dignity, and respect for all people. I love that. I dig that, promoting self-worth. I was that awkward child growing up, so if I get to use dance to do that for other people, to cultivate self-worth in another person, that's amazing, and I said, that's what I want to do with dance. So I'm going to audition for Culture Shock, and do whatever I can to be a part of this organization. When I joined the LA one, the LA company, I loved it. The training was really intense. I mean, a lot of the top people in the dance industry were in Culture Shock LA, and so I was getting this awesome training for free and being around new people. But we did have a mixture of industry people who would come in and out. So I don't feel like the culture and the vibe of Culture Shock LA at the time was really community based. I felt like its intent was to be, but we did a lot of industrials too, and big events. We did a few community events, but it didn't feel like the focus of the group was fitting its motto or its mission. So eventually I left. I think I left in 2001. I decided, I'm going to concentrate on my doctorate, and I'll just continue dancing with DVS and Chill Factor, but I'm going to take a break from Culture Shock LA for a little bit. But then the director at the time had asked me to come back and judge the auditions. So that's what I thought I was coming back for, but it turned out that I did judge the auditions, but her real intent was to ask me to be the new executive director.
Wow.
So,
surprise.
Yeah. And, I was honored, and taken back. But in my mind, I was like, I'm only going to do it if I can build my dream team of directors. And I will have the full authority to really rebrand it centered on that motto that we just, that I just said, where the identity of Culture Shock LA is to, cultivate self-worth, dignity, and respect for all people, pushing out diversity. And I also wanted to be a bridge between, the underground, like, scene, like the street scene, the funk styles, the club styles. I was the underground, bridge that with, the dance community, the other dance community that's doing more choreo, you would say.
There was a huge gap between that.
There was a big gap at that time.
Yeah, I remember a lot of my friends who were freestylers hated choreography.
Yeah, there was judgment on both sides, you know what I mean? Like, there just was a disconnect. And for me, I'm a product of both.
Yeah.
So I really wanted Culture Shock LA. I mean, if we say we're for all people, even in the dance community, I wanted to become the bridge. So I asked Patty Police, the retiring executive director, if I could have full authority to basically rewrite the bylaws, just create a different format, and she said absolutely, and full of support. She gave it to me. That's when I approached Allison Tanaka, who you interviewed. Yeah. She's one of our most inspirational leaders. She's the current executive director now. I wanted Tiffany Bong, another person that I just felt was just so inspiring. One of my best friends at the time, Ira Amal Hussein, who was also from Kaba Modern and DVS. I asked Dennis Kaindek, who was doing a lot of big things in UCLA and with his dance communities. He was also in DVS with me. And Dave Magno was like an amazingly talented graphic designer. I just knew that for marketing wise, he was going to just have a huge vision. And he did. They all said yes, and I just felt like, you know what, the six of us are aligned right now. It's meant to be. Let's go for it. And so, yeah, I started it, and I started first with thinking, okay, if we're going to call ourselves a hip-hop dance troupe, we better know our history. We better understand the essence of all the dance forms that we're putting out there. We better know where hip-hop came from. Yeah. So I invested a lot of time in the beginning in, first of all, ourselves, educating ourselves, talking to whatever pioneers we can or progressors in the community. Some of our earlier inspirations were obviously like Asia One Easy Rock and Don Campbell. We met Don Campbell at a club. OG Skeeter Rabbit, Greg Campbellock Jr. Just a lot of amazing people in the community who are really generous with their time. Even Anna Sanchez, Anna Lollipop Sanchez, love her. All of those people really supported us and provide us with knowledge that you only know from them. You know, the story straight from them, because a lot of it's not documented as I wish it should be.
True, yeah. It's like a lot of...
So going out and sessioning, going to the jams, meeting people, talking. In the beginning, you know, we had auditions for our company, but eventually we decided, you know what, we need very specific training because we're not strong in the styles that we're trying to do. So we created a lock-in crew, a break-in crew, and a pop-in crew at the time, just to establish a foundation of training so that we would have enough people as a base in our dance company to be able to train future generations and be bridges of knowledge. And
that's a good idea.
And at the time we tried to train not only in the dance studio but out there. We would session out. So we'd go to rehearsal, we would go session, we would eat. We would like be sessioning in the restaurant, in the parking lot. We talk all the time. We became a real dance family. Every year brought in new people, new inspirations, new ideas, and so it really was like how it was created, a culture shock. You know, a mixture of different people from different places. We started just attracting street dancers, house dancers, you know, just different kinds of people from different communities. And it felt like Culture Shock LA was becoming what I envisioned it to be.
Yeah.
You know, which was to be, you know, community leaders, people who wanted their art to have a purpose. And also we were trying to be the bridge, trying to be a connection between all the different types of communities, the club dancers, the street dancers, the funk style dancers, the choreography scene, you know, the industry. We had a little bit of everything was there. It was like a common hub. So I really love that, and I think that's what it is now. I feel that family vibe right now, and I feel like people are asking us, you know, yes, we do have amazing leaders and choreographers in the group, but a lot of the magic really is the connection between the dancers. It's back. Like right now, I feel that magic that I felt in those beginning years of Culture Shock LA when we first started exploding.
Yeah.
I feel it now, and I think that's the true measure of our success, is the fact that they are rehearsing in the studio, but they are sessioning out afterwards. They are hanging out in betweens, and that magic between each other happens also on stage. And
you can't force that kind of chemistry to happen.
Yeah, and you see them in battles. We're not just at dance competitions. We're at battles.
Yeah.
You know, we're repping in ciphers. We're basically being a company that is, you know, was created by the community for the community, just like hip hop and all the urban dance forms are. They were created from a certain social movement with a certain essence that's really special and unique to that art form. And it becomes an art form because people care enough to develop it and promote it and push it out there and share it.
Bigger than just themselves.
Exactly. It's a lot of the art forms are really an exchange. It's an exchange of energy, an exchange of a certain essence of something you're going through, whether it's a celebration of the civil rights movement, which is like part of Lock-in's essence, you know, or it's a struggle of what was going on in the Boogie Down Bronx that, you know, birthed the B-boy and the B-girl, you know. It all comes from an essence tied to history, and that essence is, you know, passed on along from generation to generation.
We might need to have you come back for another interview to share your knowledge on that.
Yes, obviously I'm passionate about it because I'm inspired by our pioneers, but I'm also inspired by our progressors. That includes old school and new. You know, I think as long as people take the time to really teach, they take the time to really know their art form, I feel like anyone can evolve it or progress it, but you have to start with a foundation first so you know the essence before you evolve it and recreate it into something else.
That's true. Otherwise, it'd be just simply disrespecting it. And you mentioned that you were co-author of a book. You want to?
Oh yes, I'm really honored and excited about that. I was approached to be a part of a book called Empire of Funk, And it's actually dropping now. It's going to be in Barnes and Nobles pretty soon, but
Wow.
it's already our publisher Cognella has already released it, and Mark Villegas is the one who approached me to be a co-author. There's a lot of contributing authors like DJ Qbert, Cuttin Candy, Cheryl Gambay, Mark himself. There are a lot of contributing authors in this book. It's a collection of different perspectives on the Filipina American experience, with hip hop culture. So I'm excited. I'm excited that we're just adding to an archive of perspectives.
Then now it's written, and there's actual like perspective of it. It's not, you don't have to. Cause, I mean, not ever the pioneers. I mean, they're getting older, so it's going to be hard to get this knowledge.
I feel like right now with the advent of YouTube and just social media in general, I feel like there's so much opportunity to document these really important stories and these different perspectives, and even everyone who teaches dance, that's an opportunity to share something. So I hope that we do spend more time. I feel like interviews like this are like really important to like capture stories and perspectives, and to I hope people won't be selfish with it and they'll share it. So it has more longevity, more impact, and can cause more ripples.
Yeah, I mean that's what I envision for this.
Yeah.
What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, at least for dance in general, would be that we repeat patterns of the past where like fame or greed divides the culture, and then we fall into obscurity. Everything becomes underground again. That would be my fear, because that would be a shame because of these beautiful art forms and all these amazing people who have worked so hard to push their vision through, to see it go underground again because our community is divided. I think that would be really sad. Or to lose, just to have more people pass away and lose those opportunities to hear those irreplaceable stories that went on between people that created and paved the way for us, for this art, for all these art forms. It would be sad if those are never captured, that they're never remembered, because I feel like they deserve to be remembered, and we can benefit so much from hearing it. So
there's something that you mentioned that I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, you said go underground again. I'm not sure a lot of people know what you mean on that.
Well, yes. So it was an interesting transition. I mean, lock-in, pop-in, break-in, even Voguing, like I know people don't realize Voguing was way back in the day. It was there throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
Well, it started underground because it started with this, connected to a social movement in different regions, like b-boying and break-in was really, created on the East Coast and started there, and then it spread real fast, and then lock-in was created here in LA. So all these amazing art forms were being created, and then what happened in the 80s is that the movie producers started catching on to it, and so they started putting it in their movies. The great thing is that all of it raised to like such mass popularity, but the problem with it is that no one was really talking about the history and the vocab. So I remember even myself, I knew Lock-In as the rerun, because obviously it was on that that TV show, What's Happening, and no one was saying that was Lock-In. So I just thought, oh, so that guy's doing the rerun, or people would hear people saying like, oh, that's the Pop and Lock,
Oh yeah.
Not really knowing that Poppin' and Lock-In are
completely
like
different
things. And sure, somebody can do both, and they're Poppin' and Lock-In. There's definitely that, but so there was lots of confusion, I guess, but no one was really caring about it enough to talk about it and push it out there. And maybe it's not even the artist's fault. Maybe it's media. Maybe they didn't care enough to promote it and cover it. Maybe it was being talked about, but because there was nobody like really speaking about the essence and the vocab and the foundation of all these styles. As soon as the hype of party dancing came out and the movies like House Party started coming out, a lot of those amazing original styles were called like old school, played out or whatever. I never felt that way. I loved it just the same. but it became more underground. It wasn't a lot of these art forms. I mean, you have to understand, like, a lot of these art forms were alternatives to gang violence and like break-in. It was really created as an even all the four elements of hip hop were created as an alternative to gang violence and looting and doing things that were counterproductive to our community.
Yeah.
So a lot of those people, like, instead of knifing each other, were like battling each other in crews, and I saw gang violence go down, like, when all of these art forms were being created, because we had different outlets, and people who, maybe we couldn't afford, dance studio classes, but now there are all these art forms that you could be a part of, and crews you could join instead of gangs.
Yeah, that's so.
But what happened in the 80s and 90s is, it was an exciting time because I love the party dancing also. I love the 80s and 90s. But I did notice that when a lot of those other art forms kind of went, like, left pop culture and went more underground, the gigs started being less. The movies were not hiring poppers, lockers, and breakers anymore. So those people went back to gangs, And what was the dominant music of that time? Gangster rap started emerging, and a lot of that freestyle music started coming out, which is awesome. But the gangsta violence, the gangsta rap was really relevant because gangs were on a rise again. So that's the thing, I think is, like,
that's what a lot of people
sad.
Thought. That's what a lot of people thought what hip hop was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my first introduction to hip hop was Tupac. So when I was in the 5th grade, I'm like, dang, this is hard. I had no idea what he was saying. So my mom did. She didn't like it at all. But
I mean, it was really definitely reflective of what was going on in the communities at the time. He was definitely, like, telling a story. But what people don't understand, are a missing part of that history, is the fact that a lot of that is also due to the fact that a lot of those art forms were not embraced or pushed out as much. So when you don't have your crews anymore, rolling around, you're going to go back to another sense of belonging, which became the gangs.
Which is like a normal sense of, like, that's our human instinct. We need to feel a sense of belonging.
Everyone needs to feel validated and like they belong, and they need to feel safe, and so, ironically, people felt more safe in gangs, So, or I also saw a lot of people joining car racing crews too. That was, like, another thing I saw at the time. But so I saw it go underground, and, like, if I wanted to see, instead of seeing it in the parks or at the parties now, like, to see people, like, see ciphers and things, I would have to go to a jam. I would have to go to, like, a battle.
So it became rare.
It became rare. I mean, there was Radiotron and some other awesome events that were going on, but it really felt more underground versus people were not really paying attention to it in the mass media anymore. Even though I felt like it deserved it, people were more paying attention to the party dancing scene now, and that's what was being booked in the industry. People were booking people who could do choreography.
Damn.
Like the Fly Girls were emerging even in Living Color, and I really felt like that part was a fun era too. It's just sad that now there was the pop culture dancing, and then there was the underground. That division was already
like a huge shift of, like, I don't know, division of, like, the house of dance, so to speak.
Yeah, and those are, like, the people that were, like, younger than me at the time were really into this new dance style. They really were, like, judgmental. Oh, that's old school.
Oh, man.
And then the people who came, like me, grew up in that, like, felt that was the purity of our dance community, was all those art forms. You know what I mean? That's our foundation. So.
Well, I mean, a lot's happened. I mean, I gotta wrap up soon. But, like, a lot's happened since then. What's something that Arnel of now, like, if you had one thing to tell to Arnel back in high school, the awkward self, like, what's that one piece of advice you'd share him?
I would say believe in yourself. You have a very extraordinary, unique purpose in the world. So never give up on yourself. That's what I would say. Because at the time, I really felt, I didn't feel accepted. I didn't feel worthy, But now I do. Now I do. Now I feel empowered. I feel proud of who I am, while also knowing I'm always going to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
But I didn't, all those many years, I didn't believe that, and thank God somebody along the way helped me believe that and find that in myself. So that's what I would say. I would say believe in yourself, believe in your unique purpose, and keep going.
That's good, powerful. What's your definition of greatness?
I think greatness is living up to your unique purpose in the world, whatever that is, and I think we're on an ongoing journey to figure what that is. But we're all so unique, and sometimes our insecurity or what we hear from other people limits our understanding of that uniqueness or what makes us extraordinary. But I think greatness is first understanding and acknowledging it, and then making very very smart choices with what you do every day to take you closer to that purpose.
What's your vision overall? Like life?
My vision?
2014?
My vision is to do whatever I can for as long as I can to fulfill that purpose and to really push out love. I feel like love is the answer. Love over fear is the answer to bridging communities of all kinds. And so if I were to be remembered as anything, I would want to be remembered as someone that did all he can to push out love between all people.
Yes, that's such a good one, especially since we have such a fear-based culture.
Yeah, that is the demise, is fear and lack of understanding when people build walls before trying to build bridges. So.
Oh, that's good. Well, how can people connect with you so they can learn more about your book? How they maybe even ask questions or whatever. Where can people find you to connect with you?
Well, definitely on like all my dance family's websites. So cultureshockla.com or cultureshock.org. Sorry, or kabamodern.com. But I'm also on all the social media things. I'm very active on Facebook. So just Arnel Calvario. I'm also on. I started a new Tumblr actually.
Nice.
And it's just Arnel CC.
I know. Okay, super easy.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram, of course, and Twitter. So I'm on all those. I try to take advantage of all of those opportunities to connect with people. So you can find me in any of those.
Nice. All right. So there you have it, Arnel Calvario, amazing man. Everything you just said was going to be in the show notes. Make sure you check it out. Follow him. Share this video if you liked it. That's it for Profiles and Drive. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care. All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like really, the reason I brought you is to talk about happiness is now. Like, what inspired you to begin that?
What inspired me, to be honest with you, it started